Gentlewoman from Indiana, Mrs. Hochin, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Gensler, for your testimony here today. Chairman Gensler, many times before Congress, most recently in September of 2022, you stated your belief that the vast majority of digital assets are securities. Yet in February 2023, you stated everything other than Bitcoin is a security. In March of 2023, in a March of 2023 op-ed, you changed your tune slightly and asserted that most digital assets are securities. If your own view has continually evolved on these statements, how can you assert that the law is clear on the issue if you yourself have vacillated on it?
I actually think I've been consistent. Sometimes reporters report the same conversation differently, but let me state it here. Most of these have a group of entrepreneurs in the middle, and the public is relying on their efforts. There's a website, there's a Twitter account, there's...
I want to reclaim my time. So earlier in the hearing, you stated that your agenda at the SEC is to ensure we have the best capital markets for years to come. In an ecosystem as borderless as the digital asset industry is, competition between countries to attract and retain retail investors is critical. A key factor in this competition is whether the country has a clear regulatory framework, which the United States currently does not have. The European Union just provided this clear regulatory framework through its markets and crypto assets regulation. And we're already seeing digital asset firms move jobs and capital to European jurisdictions as a result. Have you considered the impact that the policies you've furthered as chairman of the SEC will have on digital asset firms leaving the United States? If so, what's your assessment of that impact? Does it align with your statutory duty to facilitate capital formation in the United States?
Our duties is to protect the investors and the issuers to access the capital market. And if there's so much non-compliance, then people will have lower trust in our capital markets. It could hurt the rest of our capital markets.
Chairman Gensler, if you're regulating by enforcement action versus having a clear regulatory framework, I'm not sure how there can be the certainty.
If I can say, we have a clear regulatory framework built up over 90 years. It's just a bunch of intermediaries in this market that think they have a choice. They don't have a choice. They're non-compliant generally, and they need to come into compliance.
Given that your own statements have vacillated, Chairman Gensler, I think it's clear that the lack of clarity on this issue hasn't done anything to help this industry thrive in the United States. There's a constant threat of regulation through enforcement by your agency, and that has driven innovators and those who want to play by the rules elsewhere. Switching gears to capital formation, Chairman Gensler, what specific steps is the SEC taking to promote capital formation in light of the decline in public companies' slow IPO activity? How is the Commission balancing the implementation of so many costly regulatory disclosure requirements with its statutory obligation to facilitate capital formation?
In every proposal that we make, any adoption we make, we look at the effect on capital formation. It's a key part of what we do. We're trying to drive greater efficiency in the middle of the markets.
Chairman Gensler, why was the industry not allowed to collaborate on many of the proposals before they were published, including a proposal on equity market structure? The comment files for the equity market structure proposals are overflowing with letters from financial services firms representing the interests of hundreds of millions of retail investors. These letters raise serious concern about the impact of the contemplated changes will have. In light of all these alarm bells, don't you agree that a better approach would be for the SEC to withdraw the proposals and take its time to conduct a holistic review, gather input from financial services firms, and study the market structure rather than proceeding recklessly with an untested experiment that risks harms to the markets of everyday retail investors?
With all respect, I'm very proud of what we put out. We've built upon years of experience. It's been 17 years since we updated some of these foundational rules about our equity markets, and we met with a lot of people in the markets before the rules.
Can you assure us today that the equity market structure proposals will not result in increased commission costs, delayed execution, less favorable terms and other harmful items to retail investors?
Again, they're out for public comment, but the goal is to drive greater efficiency, so that would be lower costs.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Thank you. I yield back.